In this topic, we're going to cover how to install Kali Linux. In order to install Kali Linux, we first need to download it. So if you navigate to kali.org/get-kali, you'll be presented with a wide variety of options to download the Kali operating system. And in this lesson, we're going to download and install Kali ourselves directly from an ISO. So we're going to select bare metal here. And now we're presented with these installation options. So we can choose the 64-bit Kali, 32-bit Kali, or the Apple M1 version. And we're going to choose the 64-bit installation. So let's click download here and save the file. And once you've downloaded the ISO, we'll now be able to use VirtualBox to install Kali Linux as a guest operating system on your host. So let's do just that. Let's open VirtualBox and select New for a new virtual machine. Let's call this Kali-demo. And we'll change the type here to Linux. And we'll change the version to Debian 64-bit and click Next. And now we need to specify the amount of RAM we want to give to this virtual machine. And this will depend on your requirements and the amount of RAM you have on your host operating system. So I'm going to assign 2 gigs here, 2048, and press Next. Next, we need to create a new virtual hard disk. And this is the hard disk where the operating system will be installed. And depending what you choose here, this will either be a single or multiple files which just live on your host operating system. So let's create a virtual hard disk now. Press Create. Let's make use of the VirtualBox disk image here as the hard disk file type. And now we need to choose if we want to dynamically allocate or set up a fixed size hard drive. And we can see the difference here. A dynamically allocated hard disk file will only use space on your physical hard disk as it fills up to a maximum fixed size. Although it will not shrink again automatically when space on it is freed. However, a fixed size hard disk file may take longer to create on some systems, but is often faster to use. So basically, we can tell VirtualBox the maximum amount of space it can use, and VirtualBox can either pre-allocate that up to the fixed size, or it can dynamically allocate the size as it's needed. So I'm going to choose dynamically allocated here and click Next. And now we need to specify the location of the virtual hard disk. And this is the location on our host machine. And VirtualBox is suggesting a file size of 8 gigs here. However, if we choose 8 gigs as the size for our disk, our Kali installation will fail because 8 gigs is not a large enough disk for Kali. So let's specify 40 gigs here. And because of the option we chose before, VirtualBox won't allocate this entire file size. However, the Kali virtual machine can grow to be 40 gigs in size. So let's press Create here. And now we've created our guest operating system, Kali-demo, and we can power this on by double-clicking it. And you'll have to excuse the resolution here, but when we double-click this new virtual machine, we get this pop-up from VirtualBox which says, please select a virtual optical disk file or a physical optical drive containing a disk to start your new virtual machine from. And we already have this file, right? Because we downloaded the Kali installation ISO. So if you click this little icon here, you can choose a virtual optical disk file. And now, from the optical disk selector menu, you can click Add. And you can navigate to the location where you've downloaded your Kali ISO, and we can click Open here. And with the Kali ISO highlighted, we can select Choose. And then select Start. And now we can see that we've booted into Kali from the ISO onto a virtual machine running on our host. So we can now continue with the installation. So we can do a graphical install. And we'll select the language. So in this case, we'll choose English. And now we can specify our location. So I'll select Australia. And we'll use the American English key mappings. Now we need to specify the host name that we want to use, and I'm just going to use the default here of Cali. And we don't need to set up a domain name here, so we can leave this blank. And now the installer is guiding us to set up a new user, because we don't want to be using the root or administrative account for non-administrative tasks. So let's create a new user called not root, who isn't root. And let's use the same username, not root. And we can enter a password here. So let's use not root again. Not root. Continue. And now we can set our time zone, which is based on the country we specified earlier. So I'll leave Australian Capital Territory selected here. And you can choose different ways to partition your disks as part of this installation. However, I'm just going to use the default here and use the entire disk. Select continue. And now we need to select the disk where we want to install the operating system to. And we've only got one option here because we only have one hard disk associated with this virtual machine. So let's press continue. And let's keep using the defaults here. We're not going to set up separate partitions. And now we select continue to finish partitioning and write our changes to disk. Yes, we do want to write these changes. And now the installer is installing Kali onto that disk, following the same process as if you were installing this to an actual physical disk. And this is going to take some time, so we'll speed this up. And now the Kali installer is asking us what software we want to have installed. So I'm again just going to stick with the defaults here and press continue. And we'll speed this installation up again. And next, we want to install the Grub bootloader to the primary drive. So we can press continue here. And we'll specify the drive here. And now the installation is complete and we can boot into our guest system. So we can press continue here. And now the virtual machine is going to reboot. And we can see that we can now boot into Kali Linux in this virtual machine. And now the system is booted, so we can log in. So we can use that username and password we set up earlier, which was not root, and we can press login. And now you can see that we've logged in to our Kali guest system. However, since this is a virtual machine, there's a few things that we still want to do. And the first thing we want to do is we want to enable clipboarding and drag and drop, because we want to be able to copy and paste from the virtual machine to our host and from the host to our virtual machine. And we also want to be able to drag and drop files both ways. So let's do just that. We can go into Devices, Shared Clipboard, and we can select Bidirectional, because that enables host to guest and guest to host. And again, we go into Devices, Drag and Drop, and we select Bidirectional again. And now we should be able to copy and paste from inside the virtual machine onto our host. We should be able to drag and drop files, and we should also be able to resize the virtual machine. And now that we have our Kali virtual machine installed, we now have an environment where we can write and execute our Python code. But that's it for now. And in the next lesson, we're going to cover the Python interpreter.